In actual fact, I grew up during the war.
We felt kind of, well, I think most people would. I felt proud to be part of that. Although I'm not brave by any stretch of your imagination.
So one way or another, that's the way we saw it. To tell the tale that you're hearing today.
Memories is what it is. Just memories. So many memories.
The country was at stake. It was something you do for your country. If you liked the country in that way, you fought for them.
Well, my mother came to Ottawa to talk to the manager that I was working on that R.A. Beamish stores back in those days. It was something like a Woolworth store. But she came down to talk to the manager to try and persuade him to talk me out of joining, and I had already signed, and she didn't know it at that time. But being 18, there wasn't much she could do about it. I just wanted to do my part, that's all. And went down and signed up, and that was it.
I was 18.
18, 19.
I would be about 17, no, close to 18.
Well, I was 18 and I had an uncle who was in the British Navy pre-war. So he always said, join the Navy and see the world. In hindsight, I wish I joined the Air Force and learned to fly.
The Air Force. I was in the Royal Canadian Air Force.
Oh, I was just a soldier.
I didn't like falling out of the sky, and I didn't like the mud in the Army, so I went in the Navy where there was lots of water.
I didn't particularly think much of being on the water in the Navy. So, in the Army, to me, it meant marching, and I was against that. So I picked the Air Force.
Well, it made us, we grew up very quickly. You had no choice.
That was, I think it was rather difficult, probably was for everyone, because suddenly we have to go from a undisciplined life to very strict discipline.
It was quite something. Next thing I know, after a couple of months in Aldershot, we ended up in Scotland, and I was just the 14th Armoured Brigade going down to North Africa.
I was in the wireless office and I did the coding and decoding of messages.
I was a tail gunner in a 4-engine bomber, right? And we're right at the very back of the airplane in this turret that goes up and down and sideways and everything, and colder than a well digger's knee. And oh God, it was cold when you got up over 10,000 feet and you almost froze.
It took a while for a lot of the Canadians to really get used to the idea that, wait a minute, this is war. This is not, it's not a holiday. It's war, and these people have gone through it. But after going on a few trips over to Germany and getting shut up and coming back with parts of body in the plane, it didn't take long.
It was a scary time of life. You just never knew what horrible thing you were going to hear.
There was no debate about it. You just had to live with things that were wrong. You couldn't correct things yourself.
It's something we had to do. I try to do my best, so you were told to do what you were supposed to do, this or do that. Go to a coordinate, follow the coordinate, and that was it.
I grew up fast as a 18-year-old while in the service. I also seen, like in England, the bombings and so on, and the way the people were, which was terrible. And I'm proud of my service.
It was really rough. I went through the whole bombing in London. We had an incendiary bomb come down there, landed right in the door, and we were very lucky because it was a dud.
And the invasion of Sicily came on, and I was in that. Well, that was a little scary. Artrona, I think it was, and that was a real rough. That's the first good big battle the Canadians really did in Italy at the time. I was in that there, and an awful lot of tanks got knocked out, right and left. A lot of fellows got killed in it too. I don't think they could beat the Canadian soldiers. One thing about the Canadians is, if they want something done, you got the Canadians to do it.
They were not people that had enemies or that. They just wanted to make Canada a better country and protect it.
I think the main thing that they should take from the war is the futility of the whole thing.
Just interested in human beings. I'd say scrap all those machine guns and give them back where they came from.
War is a very, very wrong thing in my view, but I was part of it. To go out and try to kill somebody that you don't know, which is what you have to do when you're in the service, it's ridiculous, I think, but we did it.
It was wonderful to come home, and the war was over.
Oh, just joyous to get back again, you know, to be back to your family again, you know. See my brother and my mom and dad and my sister Joy. It was a nice feeling coming back to East Toronto Union Station and all those people there cheering us on.
I read about Halifax where they went into the liquor stores and carrying the booze down the street. They closed it up, for which, you know, for such an important thing, the war is over, they should have had it wide open, to my knowledge anyway. But anyway, the boys did get it.
A huge gang of us came home on a big ship, which I think it was the Queen Elizabeth, which we had gone across on in the first place. When the ship docked, there was a great welcoming committee there. I wouldn't begin to guess how many people, hundreds obviously. The war was over, eh? And our side won, and it was good that it was over.
To me, it was 4.5, 5 years of growing up. That's what it was to me, of realizing that there's more to life than just you.
My nerves were at an end after I came home. I couldn't sit down for about 6 months. It was just turn the radio on, turn it off. And it takes time to come back to a normal life again after what you've been through.
I spent 4 years in the Navy, so by the time it came, you know, to be demobbed and go back to Civilian Street again was quite an adjustment.
I didn't get disfigured or anything in my face, but I just felt, you know, I always felt that I was burnt.
Well, from what I've seen and that the people are very appreciative of the service that the veterans have given. I know that during Canada Day, the people were out here in port in the streets and lined up and, you know, saying thanks and so on, which certainly, I would say, made the veteran feel proud of the service that they did give. I know I feel that way anyway.
Well, you know, I'm not an educator or anything like that, but I think if we could somehow find a way to educate people today so that this is not likely to happen again, you know?
You know, you have to realize that there's more to life than your little piece of what your piece of life. There's more to it than that. There's people with different ways of living. As long as it's peaceful, then learn to live with whoever. As long as it's peaceful, learn to live with them, period.